All right.
We'll find one.
Yeah. We're going to move into meditation now with the song, Be Still and Know That I Am God. So I invite you to breathe deeply, soften your belly, soften your body, bring yourself into this place. Be still and know that I am God. 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 Be still and know that I am And as we move deeper into this time of conscious contact with the Lord of our being, we continue to breathe long and deep, breathing in that pure essence of God and breathing out, letting go and letting God be God in us. Taking a deeper breath, notice if there's anything that you brought with you this morning that's not serving your highest and best. And take another deep breath and just let that go. And as we do this, we come into the pure presence of God, a place of harmony and joy, a place of abundance and wisdom, a place of light and love. This morning, as we meditate, we're going to do a 12 Powers meditation. 12 Powers are the teaching that Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, co-created with God to help us move into a higher expression of our Christ consciousness, of our divine essence. And today, as we look at the spiritual principles of humility and willingness, we focus on the disciple Thaddeus, who represents the expulsion of negative thinking, of cleansing, of renunciation, of letting go. And it is as we do this, as we let go of our egos, let go of the best way we think we should do things, and open up to the truth, to God's wisdom to guide us. We come into this place of humility, and we do this with a sense of willingness to let go of the past and move into the good that is unfolding in our lives. So the space in the body where we focus on the energy of renewal is in the abdomen region, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus. So we focus on that part of the body, and we imagine the color amber, which is a blend of orange and yellow. We bring our awareness to this space and we affirm, I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. Breathing deeper into this truth, I am also willing to release problems that seem overwhelming. I renew my awareness of my spiritual nature. I am willing to release problems that seem overwhelming, and I renew my awareness of my spiritual nature. With a deeper breath, I affirm I am willing to release my habits of worrying, and I renew my faith in divine order. I am willing to release my habit of worrying and renew my faith in divine order. Taking a deeper breath, we affirm I release any doubt or drama or conflict, and I renew my inner peace in spirit. I am willing to release any doubt or drama or conflict, and I renew my inner peace in spirit. Taking a deeper breath, I am willing to release my darkest fears, and I renew the strength and courage of my heart. I am willing to release my darkest fears. I renew the strength and courage of my heart. So as we move into the silence, I invite you to focus on this one affirmation. Kind of includes all these ideas. I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. And let us do this now in the quiet. I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. And it's with gratitude for this truth that we gently begin to bring our awareness back to this time and place where, having touched the stillness, even for this brief moment, to remember who we are. Be still and know that I am God. 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 Satnam. Namaste. Mitakwiyasa. I behold the Christ in you. I bow to you. I love you. These are greetings from different traditions that all do the same thing. They affirm the truth of who we are. We acknowledge the truth, the light and love that we are, and we acknowledge that in others. Satnam comes from the Kundalini tradition, and it means truth is my identity. And it's used as a greeting, a salutation. And so whenever we say it, we're moving in that the vibration of the sound of that mantra helps align us with truth. And everything that's not true about us falls away as we affirm that affirmation. Namaste is a more familiar term that comes from the Sanskrit tradition. That means the light in me acknowledges and bows to the light in you. Beautiful greeting. Mitakwiasan is a word from the Lakota tradition, and it means all my relations, that we are all one. The teaching that everything that we're all connected, everything in this world is connected, like the big spider web. You move over here and it affects what's going on over here. Something's happening to these people over here, it affects these people over there. So these are all ways to humble ourselves, to acknowledge the pure presence of God that is within us and with all beings. And so I love all these statements. Satnam, Namaste, Mitakwiasan. I behold the Christ in you is our teaching in unity. That when we see another person, we behold the highest and best in them. Through all whatever is going on, however they're showing up, we know that there is that divine essence within them. So today, as we move into this series of the 12 principles for spiritual living, we come up to the 6th and 7th principles today, which are willingness and humility. And you know, you have to be humble when you're in a human body because it does all kinds of things. I always remember Neil Donald Walsh's teachings from Conversations with God. He said, never be embarrassed about anything that your body does, any noises it makes. Anyway, it's like, it's a body. Or these biological beings. And so when your nose runs, blow your nose. When I was in ministerial school at Unity Village from 1996 to 1998, it was an amazing time at Unity Village. We had 2 classes that were going simultaneously, first year and second year, and there were about 60 of our ministerial candidates in those classes. And the second year students get to do what's called a chapel service, which is a rite of passage through the ministerial program, where you put together a service that is done, and you get to pick the theme, you get to pick the musicians, kind of like what we do here every Sunday. But it's the first time, and it's at Unity Village, and it connects us with the history of the movement. It was held in the Fillmore Chapel at Unity Village, where it was the only room that both Myrtle and Charles taught together at Unity Village. So it's a very historic room, and it's quite an honor to be there. And so toward the end of the first year, the list goes around and you get to pick a date when you're going to do your chapel service. It's always done on a Monday morning. And so by the time it got to me, the Sunday that was open was February 2nd, 1998, which is Groundhog Day. So I signed up for that date and started thinking about the date and thinking about Groundhog Day and Puxatani Phil and what he does every day, or used to do. I think he passed away this year, right? What he would do every year to determine whether we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter or an early spring. And how did he do that? By seeing his shadow. So I started working with that idea, so I named my lesson The Golden Shadow. And I had so much fun with it. I got one of my classmates to dress up like a groundhog, a woodchuck. And he came up to the platform and we had a conversation. And by the end of it, I had sent him up to see our psychology teacher to help him discover his shadow and the gold in it. And it was just a lot of fun. And by the way, I renamed the groundhog Puxatani Phil Moore. There were so many things about this that just came together. And I had a great time, you know, and part of my lesson and the theme was about, you know, discovering your shadow and what Jesus did when he went out into the wilderness for 40 days. And he had that experience, and those temptations that came to him came from within, in him, actually, right? There is nothing outside of us. It's what's going on within us. And I was feeling great, and you know, I had a lot of laughter when Puxatani Phil left the room, and that laughter just kind of calmed me down a little bit. And I got going in my lesson. I was talking about the temptations of Jesus in the wilderness, and I said, and Jesus turned the bread into stone. One of my dyslexic moments. And I realized as I stopped, I said, no, he didn't. He turned the stone into bread. And, you know, it's just, again, some laughter that helped me center myself again. And, you know, it's so great to be able to laugh at yourself, right? And the humility that takes to be able to laugh and to just realize that we are perfect just the way we are. And that service was just an incredible time for me, as it was for all my classmates, you know, to be able to do that and to be in that place at Unity Village and have that experience, a beautiful thing. So as we move into this, these principles of humility and willingness, I wanted to share also that, you know, how I've been doing this series with these unity principles, universal truths, connected to the principles of the 12 steps of recovery, that one of the ways we look at those 12 steps, the way they're set up, is the first few steps are all about trusting God. You know, that spiritual awareness it takes to admit and be aware of what's not working in our lives, coming to believe, about faith, about having that faith to move forward, and making a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. That's surrender, the spiritual principle of surrender. And so another way to look at these, so it's trust God, clean house, and serve others. It's kind of the three groupings of this process. So we're in the cleaning house phase of these spiritual principles. And what does that mean? Clean house. Jesus said, in my Father's house, there are many rooms. And what he was talking about, those rooms represent different states of consciousness. And we're always evolving through different states of consciousness and moving from room to room in this way. So as we clean house, we clean our consciousness. We become more clear channels to express the light and love of God. And it takes a willingness to do that, right? This process, this cleaning house, is about releasing. It's still that surrender, that releasing, so that we can receive the good that is already within us. Charles Fillmore explained it like this. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of our Unity movement, when he's not a woodchuck. It is just as necessary that one should learn to let go of thoughts, conditions, and substances in consciousness, body, and affairs when they have served their purpose and one no longer needs them, as it is that one should lay hold of new ideas and new substances to meet one's daily requirements. So in other words, it's necessary for the elimination process to complete itself so that the good can be established, the divine order can be established in our lives. And that's one of the gifts of this process, is that we get to take a look at ourselves and really discover what's going on that's holding us back. Because you can't just pour pink paint over your problems and affirm them away. And it's kind of what we tend to do in Unity, is we say, oh, I just affirm this and all is good. But we have to remember that first step, the denials, to clean away, to cleanse away what's not serving us, so that we can step into this greater, clearer expression of divine light. So, are you willing to allow the light of God to shine through you? And a lot of us come from traditions where that would be heresy, right? And we're told that we can't do that. God's not going to shine God's light through us, that only Jesus can do that. But Jesus taught us that we could all do that. The things that he did, even greater things will you do, that we all have that spark of divinity within us. But still, there are times in life when my character defects show up and may hinder that light. It's like the lampshade over the light. And again, we're encouraged to take that lampshade off, and the way we do that is by looking deeper into the challenges. But this process here, this willingness, is about being entirely ready to have God remove my defects of character. There's an interesting story from the Hebrew scriptures that says, when morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, arise, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. But he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him forth and set him outside the city. And when they had brought them forth, they said, flee, Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Flee to the hills, lest you be consumed. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. So she was preserved in her old consciousness. That's what Lot's wife represents, the pillar of salt. Salt is a preservative, right? So it's about being preserved in our negative consciousness. You know how we really hold on to negativity sometimes. For some of us, it's the only thing we've ever known, so it's comfortable. But we have to move through that, or else we disappear, so to speak. We are dissolved into that salt. So mentally, she was trying to hold on to the past with all its negation, and her whole being was preserved in limitation as a result of it. So that willingness means that you can't look back. You learn from it. There's an expression that my past is my greatest asset. We learn from the challenges that we've gone through. And as we learn from them, we don't look back. We find the new way to go, the new way to be. So we have to ask for that help. That's part of this step of this being humble, is asking God for the help. How often do we do that? How often are we willing to stop and ask for God for the help when we can't seem to get there on our own? Jesus said it this way: whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest in the kingdom. To be open-hearted, to be open-minded, to be teachable, to remain teachable in our lives, and to step into this greater sense of who we are. You know, I've said this before as one of my favorite unity teachings, that the most humble we can be is to allow our God self to shine, because everything else is our ego. And so what do you want to guide your life? Your ego or your divine essence? And so showing up as God, showing up as the Christ, showing up in your full Buddha nature is the humblest thing you can do. It's not to say I am God, but it is to say God is me. God is you. There is that spark of divinity within you. You know, I share a lot of stories from Father Greg Boyle, who runs Homeboy Industries out in LA. He's been helping gang members get clean and sober, remove their tattoos, giving them jobs, all kinds of trainings, thousands and thousands of people he's helped over the years. And he had this experience. He said, now I have 7 minutes until the baptism. Carmen is a dusty blonde, which couldn't be the color God originally gave her. She's attractive, but so worn by heroin and street life. She plops herself into one of the chairs in my office and cuts the fat out of her introduction remarks. I need help. She launches right into it, brash and something of a no kidding kind of sister. Oh, she says, I've been to 50 rehabs. I'm known all over, nationwide. She smiles. Her eyes wander around my office and she studies all the photographs hanging there. She multitasks, and her inspection of the place doesn't derail her stream of consciousness rambling. The family will arrive now for the baptism in 5 minutes. I went to Catholic school all my life. In fact, I graduated from high school even. In fact, right after graduation is when I started to use heroin. Carmen enters some kind of trance at this point, and her speech slows to a deliberate and halting. And I have been trying to stop ever since the moment I began. Then I watched as Carmen tilts her head back until it leans against the wall. She stares at the ceiling, and in an instant, her eyes become two ponds, water rising to meet their edges, swollen banks, spilling over. Then, for the first time, really, she looks at me and straightens. I am a disgrace. Suddenly, her shame meets mine. When Carmen walked through the door, I had mistaken her for an interruption. I love this story and the humility that Father Boyle had in that moment to realize that even though he had a family waiting, that the person in front of him was the most important person in the world. And he owned that. He owned that he wasn't present, that he had seen her as an interruption. And some of us had been on both sides of that. We felt like we haven't been seen enough by those who matter to us, or we have done that to other people, where we don't give somebody our full attention. And we're called in this way. Another practice of humility is to be present, 100% present in the moment to what's in front of us. Because we get thinking about all the other stuff that's out there. C.S. Lewis says, the point is, God wants you to know him, wants to give you himself, and he and you are two things of such a kind that if you really get into any kind of touch with him, you will, in fact, be humble, delightedly humble, feeling the infinite release of having for once gotten rid of all the silly nonsense about your dignity, which has made you restless and unhappy all your life. He is trying to make you humble in order to make this moment possible, trying to take off a lot of silly, ugly, fancy dress in which we have all got ourselves up and are strutting around with. There's so much in the world that's unnecessary, that we give so much energy, when the spiritual life is really the most important thing, to get in touch with the essence of who we are, to humble ourselves to that, and to live from that place, and to have the willingness to do it, to move forward and not look back. I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. But this is the process of this willingness. You know, we've done the earlier steps of being rigorously honest and doing that moral inventory. That gives us the data about our lives. And then at this point, we have to ask for the help to remove those character defects. I had a friend who said she used to carry a red wagon, metaphorically, behind her. She would pull this red wagon, and all her character defects were in that red wagon. So anytime she wanted one, she just reached back and got it. I'm doing my best. I'm willing to put it back here, but I need it in this moment. And, you know, it's progress, not perfection. So, you know, we do our best. And hopefully every time we move up this spiral a little bit more, move up a little bit more, and we hit that character defect, and we do a little bit more prayer and meditation. We hit it again, and maybe this time it's not so bad, and we hit it again, and before you know it, it's gone, and you become a new person in God. So this is the work. This is what we're called to do in this process, to have a humble willingness to put aside our egos, to allow God to express in and through us, because that is the real authority in our lives. The presence of God is the real authority. Everything is just fancy, ugly dress that we've covered it all up with. Bless you. I release anything and everything that no longer serves my unfolding good. So I'm going to take a little stretch here. The root word of namaste is namo, and namo means to bow. So you can bow to God. You can bow to your own divine essence. You can bow to others. You can bow to the world. But what I would like us to do is close by chanting together 9 times. 9 is a sacred number. Namo. And so I want to invite you to come into what we call Namaste Pose, bringing your hands together. Prayer pose, we all know this prayer pose. Namaste. We're going to inhale and chant Namo, and just do your best to chant with me or hum along or whatever feels good to you. Inhale. Namo. Inhale. Namo. Inhale. Namo. 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 Last time. Namo. Just take a deep breath. Let it out. And so it is. Amen.